Yeah, so we're doing it. We're back to the electronics. I actually wanted to do this a little bit earlier, but had a little bit of problems last week. I was a little bit sick, 39 degrees, a few days. But yeah, we're back now. We can't really do much from here, can we? So why don't we teleport to my desk real quick, where you guys know where it's where I always do it. Oh, what are you thinking? I'm talking about electronics, man. Anyways, come with me. We have places to be. Okay, and now we've teleported to my desk. You may remember it being a bit wider on my first streams, but yeah, I guess it also got a little bit of a 10 this summer. Coincidentally, it's also where I work on all my stuff. So, there's aside from the mess in the corner, nothing's out of place. But it kind of can get a little bit crowded too when also working with my items. So you tend to keep them somewhere else. Anyway, enough chit chat. We have a little bit of stuff to go through this time. Well, I'm not sure it's very clear at the time, but most of the stuff I'm actually working on is part of bigger projects. Since I'm working one subsystem at a time, for sanity, so I know where everything belongs. So it ends up being a little bit like the overall project ends up being a little bit hazy, just so to say. On the bright side, whenever I have something ready to go, you can be sure that it's being thoroughly tested. Well, and out of that, without further ado, let's get started. So first up, here's a sonar that I started working on last year. It's in its box. It's a little bit out of focus. There we go. Let me take it out for sanity. So you can take a better look at it. And there we go. That's a bundle, just a bunch of wires right now. Just a kind of a bit of a mess, really. But, well, it's working. This is probably one of the longest running projects so far, actually. But with the least number of actual man hours put into it. Well, you know how it is. Your floppy is kind of busy with other things lately, and this kind of got pushed aside. Aside from the obvious fact that there's just so many things going wrong lately with it. Anyway, I'm back working on it as part of the autonomous vehicle project that I hinted last year. And it's been an absolute pain in the ass ever since. Well, right now, I'm having an issue with the power supply. It's kind of on hold until I can power it with an external source, which it should have the pins over here. Here ground, here P in from the outside, but it's currently not. I currently have no way to plug stuff into it. So it's kind of on hold until I can actually do that, because basically what happened was the charge pump voltage was looking a little bit on the low side, and the signal was too weak to get a return on. So it was sending out, this can was sending out the signal, but it wasn't getting anything back, even though it was turned on. Should have been working. You know this. During the debugging, there was something really weird going on with the charge pump. So okay, so with that I thought, maybe I accidentally fucked it somehow. So stuff that happens, chips get fucked. I don't blame them. Sometimes it's stressful being the workhorse of the system. But yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to buy a replacement then. And here they are. Well, 2 of the 3 replacement chips, because one of them is currently on the build itself. But anyways, here they are. So when I took one of those and put it over here, it just kept getting fucking weirder. And then I tried another one, and another one, and another one. And another one, and yeah, just going insane over it. And yeah, just for clarity's sake, I redid all the connections, just so there is no chance that it actually had something to do with short circuit or something that might have been my fault. But yeah, the result was that all the chips were doing the same thing, just giving the weird as hell signal. And so I did a sensible thing that everyone would do in this situation, and I just started probing. And, well, there it was. When I started probing, I don't have any of this on video, because at the time, I just wanted to get this out of the way. It's kind of a pain in the ass to document debugging stuff like this, because you never actually know what's gonna show. But I started probing, and I found that the input voltage was 4.4 volts. And if by now you spotted the problem, well, props to you. You're already halfway to understanding what went wrong. For background literature, every chip has a voltage range that it works properly on. In the case of the Max 232, it's from 4.5 to 5.5 volts. So long story short, the chip was undervolted, and that's pretty much what happened. And so for sanity check, I also checked the voltage with my big brick power supply. It's just a normal ATX power supply. I yanked off some computer. It's kind of dusty actually. But when I connected it on the 5 volts, it just worked flawlessly. So moral of the story is, it's August. I'm waiting for the electronic shops to open up again, so I can actually get the pieces I need without having to order online and pay exorbitant shipping. And the other thing is, now I have more chips than I know what to do with them. So if you guys have any suggestions, comment below. It boosts engagement. Anyways, so moving on. Next up we have the Touchwheel. This huge ass thing. It's not gonna be so huge once it goes from a prototype to an actual board. I'm really just thinking of packaging everything on the bottom, on the back of this, because it's currently a one single layer. Hold on a second, let me get another one. Right now it's just empty space. So yeah, you know, just like those music players made by the Fruit Company that were popular back in the day. Maybe a little bit of a boomer for saying that actually. Back in my day, the players had touch controls, but not like touch screens. Anyway, enough boomer antics. Let's go. Let's keep going. The middle is actually just empty. I don't know if you can see it, but there's only traces around the edge. The middle button is just a dummy so far. And the only part that's actually powered is the ring. I still haven't gotten working on the firmware yet, but it's just basically the gist of it is it's measuring differences in capacitance on when you touch the finger on different parts of the wheel, and it will report that to the microcontroller. It'll do some calculation magic and report the location it thinks it is. I say it thinks it is because this isn't an exact science. And finally, I kind of got sidetracked and ended up working on a standalone project on top of those two because, you know, not enough work. But you remember that giant brick from earlier? The computer power supply? Yeah, the giant dusty rectangle thingy. Yeah, exactly that one. So when I picked it up to test the circuit earlier, I kind of had a bit of an epiphany. The hard part of making a power supply really just compliant is the AC/DC conversion. Not the band. I don't want to hear it. But like, it's hard to actually do something with proper power factor correction and all the good stuff for it to be compliant with electrical codes and well, just in general electronics regulations for, you know, power electronics in general. That's really the hard part. So instead of just, well, trying to do something like that from scratch, or having to buy a really expensive power supply, which is the case with a lot of these experimental bench power supplies, what if we just, you know, do a little bit of the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle. In this case, it will be sort of more on the reuse part, but just get a decommissioned computer's power supply. You know, if you work with this kind of stuff, you probably have a couple of computers lying around. I know I do. Just putting it into an enclosure, which would be a lot more affordable than going out and buying a bench power supply. You can actually make very good DC to DC converters on the cheap with just you know, some basic components. Get a controller. Actually, the controller is the most expensive part from what I've been seeing. More or less, you could say $12. But the idea is, so you get this power supply, you buy an more or less inexpensive case. I'm estimating it would cost around 80 to $100 for it. Not really on the cheap side, but you know, not exactly breaking the bank. You just put the power supply in it. It gives you the voltages you need. 12 volts, 5 volts, 3.3 volts. And if you really want to, you can get a voltage regulator that does the 0 to 30 volt range, of course, which would be just an extra, but actually would be the most expensive part of that, really. You could just make a really simple as one with 3 voltages. That's it. Probably would cost you $20, a tenner, maybe. But yeah, I think I've been getting a little bit too sidetracked on the production cost side of thing. Because I actually did a little bit of research. I did a lot of research on that to, see if it's a viable alternative before I actually put a lot of effort into it. I think I actually put way too much effort already. But yes, I think it could work. I don't have anything concrete on it yet. I'll be honest, I've been more or less just spitballing ideas. It's still a concept, but I'll give it a little bit more consideration, see if it works. We'll get something out of it eventually. Next time we should be able to have a lot clearer idea. So hold on to your chair. We may be doing something good. Okay, so just to close things off. The Sonar is on hold. Again. I just loves being on hold. I'll likely get working on the firmware of the Touchwheel this week or the next. Depends how much time I have on my hands. You guys know I had a little bit of mishap this week, and yeah, everything's kind of still slowly getting back to the normal schedule. And I'll have to do a lot, some more cost analysis and just viability stuff to see if the power supply is actually viable. I would want to target it at around 80 euros, $80, more or less. Just it's already 1-1, isn't it? The dollar and euro. Actually, the euro is worth less, I think. But anyways, yeah. The only thing holding me back from turning it into a proper full-time project is just the, not knowing if it's cost effective. So I'd have to keep that in mind, as always. So this is the first lab report. So I think I should actually say that the links to relevant projects are in the description. This is in the description. This is just a silicone mat. But yeah, below the video, description. So even if you have no idea what you're looking at, or if you have a small idea, or if you're an actual professional and wants to just shit on me, well, feel free to take a look. I won't judge. And yeah, there you have it. Kind of feels good to be back on the office like this. Yeah, this has been the first ever lab report to testing the format. It might be a little bit rough around the edges, if you might have noticed, but yeah, if you have any feedback, I'd really appreciate it. I have a slight feeling that it actually might be better than the just full live streams for engagement, since I'm just pointing out the specific details of what's more worth to share. So I'm gonna give it a try like this. And speaking of engagement, how about a little giveaway? I said before that I had more chips than I knew what to do with them. And no, not the chips, not potato chips, nor chocolate chips. I mean these chips. But yeah, if you post a comment below, you might just get one of these mailed to you. Of course, I will contact the winner beforehand, so if you don't want to receive them, you have your chance to refuse them. The only caveat is I can only send them to continental Europe, so I apologize if you are outside of the realm. Not that I know you'd want a chip like this, but I don't know. You do you. But yes, thank you guys very much for watching. If you liked, leave a like. If you want to see more of this, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell. And finally, if you have any questions, suggestions, shitposts, or just any comments, don't forget to post them below, and I'll see you guys on the next lab report.